We are Marc, Amy, Juliette and Clement from the medieval Chateau de Rosieres. This Christmas we've made you a very special advent calendar. Every day from the 1st to the 25th of December we will open the door to a different room in the chateau and introduce you to its past, present and future. Merry Christmas.
Hello everybody, this is Amy from Chateau de Rosieres.
She's playing with her new phone remote control.
I freaked Marc out by pressing record in my pocket. We're high tech here.
Yeah.
The microphone isn't at all stuck on with duct tape. So,
Isn't it how you're supposed to do?
And this is Marc from Chateau de Rosieres.
Hello everybody.
Where are we today, my chérie?
Today we are at the top floor in a very low ceiling room compared to the others, but quite vast one. And the reason for that is because the room underneath had its ceiling raised in the 19th century to make it very grand and very special. And this one was probably not used at the time, and so they just shrunk the ceiling space to make it a storage / servants room / whatever room. But yet it's a room that has a lot of very interesting features.
Yeah, we love this room. It's a huge room, but it's a bit tricky to work out what to do with it because of this low ceiling situation. Now, actually, I think the ceiling's still higher than in the cottage that I grew up in.
Yeah, I don't bang my head.
But it just looks a bit weird because, as Marc said, it's a huge room. It's just got a really low ceiling. And I actually think both of us thought we would have happily had this as our bedroom, except for the fact that the windows are really low down. So if you're sat in bed, you wouldn't be able to see properly through the windows, and that's just because of the change in floor level.
I don't mind that too much because I usually sleep when I'm in bed.
It just looks a bit weird. But one of our ideas for the future for this is to use it as a massive children's playroom. No?
Possibly, yeah. That's an option.
What's your idea for it then? I thought we decided on that one.
Use it as our bedroom.
Oh, I thought we decided on the other side.
A summer bedroom on this side. One of the intriguing features in this room is that there's a little square right in the corner where the ceiling is different. It's a plafond à la française, a French ceiling with little spaced beams. And it's a bit lower than the ceiling in the rest of the room. So that's something really interesting because it suggests that actually this little corner was at some point a self-standing tower. Indeed, when you look at the front of the chateau, you can see two straight joints at the front that you can actually see inside because there are big cracks along them. And this little corner also is not in the alignment of the rest of the front of the house. So that's something really interesting, and it suggests that there have been very deep phases of demolition and rebuilding. And my hypothesis, which is, just a hypothesis, is that there used to be a separate building on this part of the chateau, just stopping here. And the main chateau was starting at the other side of the room where the other straight joint is. And in the 18th century, the chateau was 2 floors higher than it is now. And my hypothesis is that when they lowered the chateau to make it as it is, they walled all this part of the building to adjoin it and turn and merge the two buildings into one. So it makes it quite hard to understand, and but it is starting to make sense when you see where the load-bearing walls are disposed in the chateau. You remember I told you about the impluvium, the little room right in the middle of the chateau that might have been one of the main accesses in the past, as a little tiny courtyard really well defended at the front. And if that was the case, you can imagine that there might have been a defensive tower just where I am, and you would have been able to throw things on people who wanted to come in uninvited. When you look at the chateau from the outside, there is a little protrusion at the top of the wall in this corner of the chateau, which looks like a bartizan. Bartizan was a defensive feature on chateau that was used mostly for giving a better shooting angle at what you wanted to defend. So it hangs over the wall so that you would be able to reach people underneath. And all this bartizan is walled, so it's behind this wall here. But what's really interesting is the hole underneath, which is probably where a cannon used to be positioned to defend the main access of the chateau. So you can imagine here this being open with the shooting loops on either side, and a bigger cannon that would always have been pointed towards the entrance.
One of the things people have asked us about as we've been going around is whether we've got things like asbestos, because they've seen these big pipes going around. But actually we have to have very comprehensive building surveys before we move in. And other things they look for is the building likely to fall apart in the near future? And I sometimes fear that this place is so rickety-rackety and been changed around so much that if you remove the wrong stone, the whole thing's going to fall down. Marc assures me that's not the case. But there was one thing that they did raise, wasn't there, my chérie?
Yeah, actually I was probably more concerned than them. Because right at the edge of the bartizan, where there's a protrusion over the wall, there were two big cracks right at the corner, and you could see through one of the cracks.
From the inside to outdoors.
And this, and also when you look at the roof, all the weight of the roof of this part of the house just sits on top of the bartizan, which is overhanging. So it's quite bad engineering actually. It was probably made with not a lot of care by a roofer in the 19th century. And at the time, well, they didn't do many engineering calculations, and they would just put the beams and let it sit on it. But so the worry was the two cracks, which are at an angle like this, might end up with all the corner of the tower falling down, with all the weight of the roof above it. So I was quite keen on having it checked first. And one of the first things I did when we arrived actually was to put some plaster, so Paris plaster, a very tender one that crumbles very easily, into those cracks to see if there was any movement. Then we had, when a stonemason worked here, we asked him to regrout from the outside with lime in order to bind the the stones together. And so he did it with quite a powerful pump. So he injected lime into the wall basically to fill up the crack and all the little gaps between the stones to make the whole crack a lot more cohesive. And since we've done that, actually there hasn't been any movement in the plaster, no new cracks appearing, which is very reassuring.
And we've put those that plaster across every significant crack in this room because it's a very good technique to see if a crack is developing or if it's staying stable.
Yeah.
One of the other side effects of when they raised the roof of the room below was that it cut off the chimney that was going to the roof. And that means that the fireplaces are unusable in other rooms and particularly in this one. But it's quite an interesting feature in the room in general because you can see the old soot blackened bricks behind it. For the moment, this room serves a very useful function, which is to store furniture that is either to be moved on to another place or things we've bought that we want to use in future. Because it's quite a big room, we can spread it out and not have it all piled up as we would have to in another room. And so we have lots of things that were left here by the previous owners that we've decided don't actually go here particularly, and we're saving them up to group to take to an auction and sell them. And then we also have some furniture sets and individual pieces that we've bought at brocants or in auctions that we love but maybe need a bit of care and attention and are awaiting their final destination. And so as we bow out, I'm going to take you on a little furniture tour just to see some of the things in here. And if you like, you can tell us below which pieces you think we should keep and which ones are a definite no-no.
I know which one we keep.
Thank you ever so much for watching today, and I hope you have a lovely rest of your day.
Bye-bye.
Bye.
We're keeping this one.